Coranderrk.
A big round of applause for Mick Woiwod.
My name is David Wand, and yes, I am elder of the Coranderrk Tribe Land Council. And we have a man down here that's copyright me. So a lot of my knowledge that I have imparted to the members of the Bendigo Islands Conservation Association is not only my knowledge. It's been a concentrated effort of many people.
I am confident that this country is about to embrace its own history. You know, old Mick here, all the spade work he's done over all those years. Mick Woiwod, you ought to have a look at his books, Famous in Christmas Hills, Mick. Don't be better than that. But, you know, it's...
So we're here at Coranderrk, Mick.
Yes, the big station, the most important Aboriginal station in Victoria. Went for 60 years, 1863 to 1924. The most successful station, by far the most successful station in Victoria back in the 19th century.
Story. And there's no way you can understand Victorian 19th century race relations without understanding what happened at Coranderrk.
Looks like it'll be a good book, Mick.
Oh yes, well, everybody who writes a book says it's going to be a good book. It doesn't always work out that way. Some books become popular, some become famous. I'm sort of hopeful this one becomes famous. Not because of the fact that I've written it, but it's a story that's never really been told. I call them the Black Hats of Melbourne.
Black Hats of Melbourne. There were people who were proud people who insisted on being, you know, addressed as gentlemen and all that, who never did say anything bad about because it wasn't a dumb thing back then. And suddenly I find them they're raised. And Ross Smythe, yeah, they were raised. They're authors, but they're still raised. They were part of the scam, and it was a scam. It's probably one of the biggest scams ever pulled off in 19th century Melbourne. Pulled off and got away with. So the Black Hats of Melbourne was a term that I thought, that's a good one. You know, doesn't pinpoint it down to individuals. The book sort of runs to 123,000 words, 360 pages. It's got over 90 photographs in it. It's all been edited, it's all finished, it's all ready to go. And just in the last few days I've actually changed the title of it. I've been running with the title Barak and the Black Hats of Melbourne. And somebody pointed out to me, yeah, but Barak wasn't with the Black Hats, he was a Guinan, wasn't he? So we then went to Barak versus the Black Hats of Melbourne.
Barak versus the Black Hats of Melbourne.
This book's taken me a long, long time. I've had to put it down a few times, sometimes for 3 or 4 years. Because I said, oh no, the story's already been told. But mainly it was that I couldn't find the key to it. And it was only after about 10 years of research that I come across a sort of inch square mention in the, I think it's the Yarra Glen News. I was in the State Library many years ago, and I'm going through a microfilm copy of the Yarra Glen paper, which was just a local paper, and there'd be little articles there, and this particular one was not any larger than a postage stamp, probably only 25 words on it. It caught my eye, and I read it, and I thought, fancy that. Now, what it said was simply, The Coranderrk Aboriginal people said to have shot 10 deer. If any of you people shot deer, William Barak's down, he said, I shot 5. His brother shot 1, and a couple of others shot deer. And they explained why. Well, he said, Mr. Mitchell, he asked me if I'd shoot a deer for him. And he said, I'll pay you 7 and 6pence to shoot a deer. And so who was this Mr. Mitchell? He was none other than Dame Nellie Melba's dad. He was on the next station. He'd obviously tried to shoot deer, and they're a very difficult animal to shoot. They moved mainly at night time, and tracking them was very hard. William Barak went out there and shot one. He shot one for another station owner. So they'd been asked to shoot them by station owners, and they got paid various sums between 6 shillings and 10 shillings each time. Everybody's happy. They weren't breaking the law. They knew they weren't breaking the law, but then because the acclimatisation societies said, well, this is terrible. We've gone to great expense to introduce these deer and set them up, and now they're being shot by the blacks. Couldn't do anything about it. So they decided the only thing they could do would be to close Coranderrk. Now this is the most successful enterprise, probably the most successful station in the Yarra Valley. There are about 120, 130 people on there, and they're supplying souls with everything they need. Most stations only supported the station owner and his wife and family and a few employees, but no, they're supporting over 120 people.
Mick, it wasn't just the most successful station in the Yarra Valley. It's from an Aboriginal perspective, it was the most successful mission station in Australia.
And another day I was in the Public Records Office. I used to haunt the Public Records Office. I called a couple of staff members over and I said, look, I'd like to read that ledger. Can you bring it down at the table? So they did that. Very large, I've never seen a book as large as it. On the front page was the heading, Inward Correspondence of the Chief Secretary of Victoria. Back then the Chief Secretary was the Premier. So handwritten in this great ledger, Mr. Lassouf applies to become a member of the Board for the Protection of Aborigines. Following day, Mr. Kerr, he gave the name E.M. Kerr, applies for a position on the board. And then about a week later, the 4th one. So here are 4 well-known figures in Melbourne because they were well-known. They were wealthy people who had applied to join the board. And this is just no more than a week after the shooting of the deer. They're all members of the Victorian Acclimatisation Society. They released the deer at Yering, no fanfare about it, like a penny dropped.
Yes.
So what is the Acclimatisation Society trying to do? Obviously it was upset about having 10 of their deer shot, and they decided there's only one thing, we take over Coranderrk. It didn't happen because of one man, William Barak. He realised what was happening and he was determined to stop it. And people looked up to Barak, whereas they didn't, most Aboriginal people were looked down upon. Barak had charisma. And he led deputations into the Victorian Parliament. And every move that the Acclimatisation Society made to close Coranderrk, he'd be there with a deputation. He'd go to the governor, he'd go to the newspaper editors, and he didn't have a lot of power, he had powerful friends, and that's how it stopped. So the board were unable to take the Coranderrk and use it for their own purposes, so they decided they'd appoint managers instructed to run it into the ground. And when that didn't work, they had control of the money flow, and they starved Coranderrk of money. So over a period, over the following 30 years, Coranderrk changed from being a flourishing station to a rundown station. The people were getting old. Many of them died who shouldn't have died because of the management, and so Coranderrk was run into the ground and destroyed by the people I choose to call the Black Hats of Melbourne. There's been about something like 10 books written on Coranderrk, some by pretty famous people, and not one of them understood what the Acclimatisation Society was doing. They don't mention it in most cases. Other writers have looked at Coranderrk out of context. That's what was happening at Coranderrk. I decided to put it into context and find out what's happening in Melbourne, because that's where the strings are being pulled. You ask people in the street about Coranderrk and they barely know the name. So, and we know all about Batman, we know all about Captain Cook and all that. It's time to change focus a little bit and get down to the big story of the Yarra Valley, the Aboriginal story of the Yarra Valley. If you really want to understand the environment, you really need to know the story of the people who lived in it for 40,000 years.
So what do you know about crowdfunding, Mick?
Oh, it's all new stuff to me. I've only heard about it recently. It seems like a wonderful way to think that people would be philanthropic people, probably ordinary people, willing to support a good project.
Yeah.
There are not too many authors in Australia who earn a living from writing. Crowdfunding, it seems, provides a way of recouping some of the outlays involved in writing.
How much are you hoping to raise?
Well, the outlays, the more direct outlays in publishing this book is in the nature of $6,000.
Yes.
And any money over and above that can be put to good purpose. It might be the writing of another book, or it might be the placing of books in the hands of people that otherwise wouldn't get the opportunity of reading it. So, and the ordinary people today, by and large, are still struggling for recognition. So the more that's known about their culture, that's a rich culture, the better it is for them. And in the years ahead, we'd see Wurundjeri people writing their own story.
Thank you very much.
They then have a book donated to them, and I've lost it where it goes from there. This is about going up and up there, wasn't it?
It's going to be great. I hope someone gets you up in that balloon, Mick.
You can cut that, I hope.